Hey guys, I'm Dimension Jumper and today I'll be doing my least favourite item from every 3D Zelda game. Now, a few weeks ago I did make a video talking about some of all of my favourite items from every 3D game, and this video is going to be something similar to that, but I'm going to be mainly talking about the items that I feel like aren't as useful as a lot of the other items you can collect in the Zelda series, as well as from the games that they come from. So yeah, that's mainly the main criteria, and also unlike with not last week's video, with the video that I talked about that video, where Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom were their own thing, where I talked about the travel medallion. This week, they're going to be separate because there's two or one thing from each game that I'm going to be talking about that I'm not a huge fan of, or mainly because I'm not a huge fan of the ability. So yeah. So starting off with Ocarina of Time is the Deku Stick. Now this is probably out of all of the items you collected within Ocarina of Time, as well as Majora's Mask, but I'm mainly going to be talking about Ocarina of Time for this, is that the Deku Stick is probably the worst starting item in the game because it doesn't really have that much durability, and when combining, or when you can not combine, but compare them, we'll compare it to the Deku Nut. The Deku Stick is probably worse, and I think what put the Deku Nut above the Deku Stick is the Deku Nut at least stuns enemies for a small amount of time. The Deku Stick is mainly useful for lighting fires, and it's pretty useless as soon as you get Din's Fire, because that has like a huge area effect of its fire ability, and it's pretty useful when you have to unlock one of the temples in the game. So yeah, and the Deku Stick is pretty much useless, and it doesn't have that much durability. It's like it goes away in like 2 hits, and it takes what 10 to 20 seconds to completely burn out if you set it on fire. So yeah, from Majora's Mask is the Mask of Sense. Now this is a ball mask, and you get it after you beat the first dungeon of the game, and after you've you have done a race obstacle course thing with the Deku Butler, and this helps you find different scents and stuff. And out of all the masks that you get, as well as using in the game, this is probably the most useless one because it doesn't. I don't really remember using it a whole lot, and I think it just feels like a slot just to be there. And at least with some of the other masks, they have some sort of purpose within the game, as well as collecting other masks. For example, with the Bowman mask, which is a bird-shaped mask, you can get the bunny hood from the ranch in the game by getting or making the chicks into cuckoos, and yeah, and I think just with the Mask of Sense, it could have been a whole lot better, but I don't know. It kind of feels like a pre-evolution of the Wolf Link sensibility in Twilight Princess. That's kind of how it feels like to me. So yeah, from the Wind Waker is the telescope. Now this item is the very first item you get in the game, and it's from your sister Errol, and it's a birthday present in the context of the Wind Waker because it's Link's birthday, and all people on Link's Island who have become of age will, I think, or who have become of age of the hero, wear the tunic for a day, and this is your sister's in-game present to you, and it's only used story-wise once, and it's to look at a Rito at the boat, another boat at the post box, but you don't really get to use it anywhere else in the game. You can theoretically use it to search further away, and it's kind of like the Sheikah pad or the Sheikah slate, as well as the Pua pad in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, but with the telescope, you can only see further distances, and at least with the Pua pad and the Sheikah slate, you can set pins to specific areas like shrines or towers, that sort of thing. But with the telescope, it's only used realistically once, and it's just kind of forgotten the rest of the game. It kind of sits there collecting dust. So, yeah. From Twilight Princess is the slingshot. Now, this item is similar to the telescope from the Wind Waker, where it's the very first item that you collect, or one of the first items you collect in the game. And it's not the best version of the slingshot, because it's only used for stunning enemies, and yeah, it's not the best, because it's only stunning enemies, and when you compare it to the other slingshots you can get in the Legend of Zelda series, it's pretty much useless, because if you look at the slingshot in Ocarina of Time, for example, it's not only can stun enemies, but also to hit switches, and that's really useful. The slingshot in Skyward Sword, that's really useful because it can hit vines, hit enemies to stun them, and also it can be upgraded into the scatter shot, which lets you hit or use multiple pellets in one attack, and that's really, really useful because you can hit multiple enemies at once. And with the slingshot in Twilight Princess, it's not the best. It's just, you get it, and yeah, you can't really do anything out of it. And when you compare it to the other items in Twilight Princess that you can collect, it's similar to the telescope. It just sits there collecting dust, and it has no real purpose in the game apart from a small tutorial that you do in the start of the game. So yeah, from Skyward Sword is the whip. Now, the whip is a fun item. I think it's somewhat enjoyable. I think it has I think it has moments in the Eden system, which is the dungeon you get the whip from. But outside of the dungeon, the whip is pretty much next to useless, because with items like the claw shot, the bow and arrow, the beetle, they all have the variety of uses, and they all are used a variety amount or a lot outside of the dungeon that you get them, or the sacred trials that you do if you're getting like the secret gifts like the Water Dragon Scale, the claw shots, and the fire shielding earrings. They all have their uses, but with the whip, you mainly use it in the dungeon that you get it from, and it's only useful if you're trying to collect goblin horns. Outside of it, if you want to get specific upgrades, and maybe once or twice in the Skykeep and the not the agencies, and the sand ship, but it's really it's like, I think it doesn't have a whole lot of potential. I think that's what I'm trying to say with the whip. It just loses a lot of its potential as soon as you beat the dungeon that you get it from. And I think it kind of falls by the wayside. And I think what could have made this improved a whole lot is that if you could have upgraded it to the whip we see in one of the very early teaser trailers, which is the red whip we see. That would have been cool. And that could have had that, and at least with that, if we upgraded to that, it could have at least dealt damage to enemies or something like that, or I don't know, it just loses a whole lot of potential. So yeah, for Breath of the Wild is Cryonis. Now, Cryonis is one of the many rune abilities you can get for the Sheikah Slate, and I would say with Cryonis is the most useless, because I think it's only useful in certain areas, and I think that's where I'm not a huge fan of Cryonis, because if you look at Hyrule as a whole, there are some water-based areas that you can visit, and you can use Cryonis to get across specific water type areas. But when you compare it to the other runes, it's pretty much useless, because if you look at the stasis rune. Stasis is so cool because you can launch yourself on a rock a bit across the map, and you can also, if you upgrade stasis, you can stop enemies for 5 seconds. But when you look at Cryonis, it's just useless. And I think if it got the upgrade ability similar to stasis, the Sheikah, the rune, not the runes, the runes, the bombs and stasis, it would have been a whole lot cooler. So, for example, you could have made 3 pillars at once, for example. But yeah, I think it's not really that memorable, I would say, and I think it loses a lot of potential as soon as you go to other places or to places in general that don't have a huge amount of water. So yeah, and for Tears of the Kingdom is Ultra Hand. Now, Ultra Hand is a fine ability. I think similar to Cryonis, it's a fine ability. I think it has its uses, but I think when you compare it to the other abilities, it's not as useful. I think it's only there for the ability, for the quick ability you can get in the game. I don't 100% remember its ability or the name of that ability is, but I feel like Ultra Hand is only there just so that for that secret ability you can get later in the game. It's only there for that, and you don't need to use it anymore. And at least with some of the other abilities, like I don't remember, Fuse, for example, Fuse. You can collect a variety of different items like monster parts, apples, meats you can get from the variety of animals, and you can fuse them to your shield or your sword. But with Ultra Hand, you just collect or you create anything, which is useful, which I think is really cool because you can create a variety of different cool abilities and machines, that sort of stuff. But as I said before, when you get that secret hidden ability you get in the depths, it becomes useless, and you just create stuff, and that's it. So yeah, so that's been my least favourite items from every 3D Zelda game. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.